Okay, here's my scratch-built deflector tunnel assembly, and as you can see, pretty close to what the studio model had. If I do say so myself, maybe the studio model tunnel was bigger, but what the hell. I like it. Okay. Okay, lots of work on my D7. I ended up getting another kit because the inaccuracies in this one were just... Okay, more work on the D7. I ended up buying another kit because this original edition one was fraught with inaccuracies, and at the end of the day I didn't feel like working so much on some of the scratch building. I did fix the kidney bean very nicely. As you can see, it's been sealed up. I've taken care of all the seams, and I glued 2 red SMDs and covered them up with tulip paint. Right now I've got them masked with some putty, some silly putty, and it's primered. This is from the original kit. These are from the new one. As you can see, this comes with molded with the staircase pattern molded in. I added 2 pieces of 2 blocks of plastic here and here to help with the light blocking, because there was just too many gaps. This is all light blocked, and I've installed a thin strip of cool white SMDs and drilled some intermittent holes. The others are going to be covered up with decals. I finished building this piece and took care of all the seams. There were seams here and here that were pretty bad. Oh, you got to cover some more with there, but another part goes on there which will cover that up. And I took care of some seams here with a Vallejo. That still needs a little work there with a Vallejo putty. The cells are from, essentially most of the kit will be built with a new one because there's a lot of accurizing that's been done, and I'll show you some of the stuff I'm talking about right now. These are the nacelles from the new kit. I've just finished primering them, and they look pretty good. These are the ones from the old kit. As you can see, there's a difference right here to here. The studio model actually looks like this. So when I saw that there were several things that have been accurized in the new kit, I said, well, I'll just go ahead and use the new kit. This is the old kit body. It has these grills here. That's not accurate according to the studio model. It's not on the studio model. On the new kit, the part is actually smooth, as you can see, just like the studio model. The only parts that I'm using from the old kit are the bulb and neck, because they have the windows etched in, and it provides a better guide for me to drill, as you can see right here. There's the windows all etched in, and the kidney bean, which I worked on. This part on the top of the body is another one that was accurized. That's new kit. That's old kit. As you can see, looks better and closer to the studio model. So, a lot of work done. I'll be gluing this part together in a few minutes, and then I'll probably glue the kidney bean on top, and that'll essentially complete the assembly of the bridge There's a lot of seams there that I've already seen that are going to be a pain in the neck to get rid of, but part of the deal. For the neck, I've got this rod, which I'll use to reinforce. I've already threaded a pair of magnet wires through it, and it fits perfectly. Right there. It'll reinforce and it'll provide a conduit. There's some windows that are etched into the neck here, which I hadn't considered lighting, but you know what? I think I'm going to light a couple of them just to be different. So it's coming along. Anyway, talk to you later. Some more work on my D7. I have almost completed assembly of the neck and bulb, and I have completed assembly of the bridge deck. This front seam has been a real bear to get rid of. I'm still not 100% happy with it. I'm going to keep working at it, try and make it disappear. But right now it feels pretty smooth. I sanded it down with some 600, and that's why you see that bare area and some of the suggestion of a seam, but believe me, that's a lot better than it was. The other ones are pretty much gone. Some there. I may have to do a little bit more sanding. This was challenging. I got lights in this deck, and I've got my two red beacons. I've got them covered up right now with some tape so they don't get splattered with the primer that I've been putting back on, back and forth. I got everything wired in, along with the LED strip for the bulb, the onion bulb. I got my deflector tunnel glued in place. I got my rod glued in place with a little plastic piece of sprue there to raise it and center it so it is at the center and not to one side. I also glued a small cool white 805 SMD in the neck to light up the windows, as you can see that I have here and here. And I got rid of the holes that were there for the little handles that are not really on the studio model. I didn't want those in. So I'm getting set to glue this together, and once I do, I probably will let it cure overnight. I don't think I'm going to mess with those seams. This neck just simply does not seem sturdy enough for me to be sanding the hell out of it without first letting it cure. As far as the nacelles are concerned, I've sanded them some more. You can see that there's a differentiation between the plastic color and the primer. I'm gonna reprimer and see how I stand on the seams. That's not a seam so much as a separation between the primer and the non-primered area. But I'll work on that some more. And I've got the top, whatever you call this thing, glued in place. A little sanding there that I had to do to get rid of some excess CA glue. So all in all, I'm making some real progress now. I'm gonna reinforce this either with some plastic squares that'll go inside the body, or screws like Boyd did for his D7 when he built it about 5 years ago. I think screws are a good idea, small screws, once it's glued in place. I probably won't get any work done this weekend. Well, I know I won't because I'm going to be out of town, but that's alright. I'll get back to it on Sunday night probably. Anyway, looks good. I'm happy with the progress. Talk to you later. Alright guys, Armando here again, and I have to apologize. I got caught up in the build and I forgot to make any more videos. It's completed. Very sorry about that, but you got to see most of it. What came after the last segment was basically a lot of seam work, and I'll go over what I did because there's a couple of pitfalls that you need to keep in mind with this kit. And really, there wasn't much else that I could show you. I've gone ahead and mounted him on the base. The base is a resin base that I got. It's from, I believe I got it at Federation Models. I got several of these, Klingon and Romulan, and I believe I got one from Battlestar Galactica. Nice little resin basis. Let me illuminate it here. Painted it with the Spees colors, blue, red, and the green, and yellow in the background with black circles, the black bottom, and maroon maroon lettering. That was paintbrushed on. For the poles, I got two of them, one smaller than the other, and that's how it rotates. Glued the one on the bottom to the base with CA glue. Attempted to glue the top one with epoxy. It never dried. I think my epoxy is bad, so I ended up using CA glue. The top seam on the neck was extremely persistent. After several rounds of putty work, sanding and primer and more putty, I simply could not get rid of it. So after having a conversation with Boyd Crompton and Tag Gray, who also said he used a technique, Boyd recommended I sand it down to the plastic again, find the seam, and then take some drops of CA glue and put them along the seam. Then just wipe off very slightly the excess and sand the CA glue into the plastic so it would form sort of like a paste, I guess, with the plastic dust and the CA glue creating what amounts to a cement that fell into the seam and just obliterated it. Well, I did that, sanded it smooth with 320 and 600 grit, and then I primered again and painted, and lo and behold, it never came back. So that's a technique that you can use. Boyd recommends it highly, and I can vouch for it. He says he's used it on TOS Enterprise 1350s where the nacelles have persistent seams and he can't get them off after a couple of tries. He says it works very well. The rest of the seams were relatively easy. There were some difficulties around the neck here. There are some imperfections. It isn't a perfect model. I'm not entering into any shows. But all in all, I'm very happy with the way it came out. The two color tones were great. I took made some light gray and added a tad of green until I got the mint green I wanted. For this, I took a dark gray that I had and lightened it, and then added a little blue, and got myself a nice tone. The decals, I used a mix of the old ones on the wings as well as the new ones, which are kind of thick. Even after solvaset and dulling down, you can see there's an edge there, which kind of pisses me off. But, you know, I'll accept it. What am I going to do? I'm not going to cry about it. All in all, I'm very happy to finally get this. Oh, the little detail on the pylon, I used Alclad pale gold. As you'll recall, I used an SMD and put it in the neck, but after manipulating the thing and getting it on there, it died. And I'm not sure what happened. I think probably the wire got chafed on the inside of the tube at some point and simply shorted out. So I wasn't going to take apart the whole model again, so I simply accepted that I wouldn't have any lights on the neck, and I used the decals. I used decals everywhere. Here is the lighting. Very happy with it. the deflector dish. Oh, that's interesting. Something I had not noticed. Is that lighting from the inside? Let me get my glasses on. It's entirely possible. There's a little light leak there that I missed. Oh well. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Oh well. It's more visible on the camera than it is on the model. You can't see it on the angle like this, so I won't worry about it. Sometimes you have to accept imperfections. All in all, though, it looks pretty nice. Aside from what I described, I basically just had one pair of wires going down. Let me show you the bottom so you see how I wired it. Pretty simple, actually. Just put a little switch on there and wired it to interrupt the circuit, and put a piece of female plug for the wall wart, cut off most of the wire, glued it in place, and soldered it in position. I know it's kind of dark, but the wiring is relatively simple. Let me see if I can get you a better light so you guys can see it. Much better. There. The wiring comes out of the rod. I interrupted to the switch there, and it then goes into the wall wart socket, the female, and then goes to the male. Pretty simple circuit. Anyway, that's my D7. I built one of these as a kid, so I'm really glad that I built it again. This time doing it a lot more justice. Oh, this is Spies silver, by the way. This and that, and the detail on the nacelles. All in all, I'm very happy I built this kit again, doing it the justice that I can now with better skills as an older, more experienced modeler. It's not perfect, but it's pretty nice, and I got a great position for it amongst all my other Trek ships here. So that's my D7, guys. Hope you like it, and if you do, hit the like button, and any questions, feel free to put them on. Talk to you later.